Hello there everybody, good morning and welcome back to howtotrade.com and welcome back to another live stream here in the trading room today and also on our X channel, LinkedIn, Facebook and YouTube. It is the Bank of England's rate decision live stream and yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens here with the Bank of England. I think it's pretty obvious what the decision is going to be, but the forward guidance around it is going to be really important. So I'm looking forward to covering this decision with you and for you and having a look at some market opportunities today as well. Good to see you all in the trading room. It's good to see you. It's a bit cold in here actually, getting a bit chilly here in the UK. I wonder if we're going to get a chilly reaction to the interest rate decision. Good to see you in the trading room anyway. Hello to you, Marco. Good to see you. Evelina, hello to you. Christian, good to see you. Martin174. Danish, Ivy, Devon, hello to you all as well. I do have some messages to reply to in the trading room. So if I haven't replied to you just yet, just bear with me. It's been a very busy week, as I'm sure you can appreciate. So I'll make sure we will cover that. I do promise. I will reply to those messages. I promise. Dibble, hello to you as well. Very good to see you, and thank you very much for tuning in today. We have got 13 minutes to go until the Bank of England will deliver its next interest rate decision. And what we're going to be doing in today's stream really is having a quick breakdown of what we expect and how that could maybe shape the direction of the pound and UK markets today. So there's been a lot of volatility, and there's been a lot of opportunity really. If you manage to predict that Trump was going to win, if you knew that was going to happen, and you did manage to sort of buy into the dollar and sort of sell commodities and buy into the stock market, then you've done really well. If you're like me and you've sat out, I imagine that you're probably feeling just a tad. You're feeling there's probably just a tad of FOMO, I imagine. So hopefully we do manage to watch these markets and just let that market structure form first before we go jumping into opportunities. So I'm not in any trades at all at the moment. So yeah, I am really waiting for those markets to settle a little bit. Okay, so just to point you in the right direction, over onto our economic calendars, if it works, there we go, over into our economic calendars, and you can see that at 12 o'clock, so midday for me, wherever that is for you, wherever you're watching from, we have got the Bank of England interest rate decision, and we are looking for a 25 basis point rate cut. That's from 5%, which has been the decision for the last two meetings, down towards 4.75%. That's a 25 basis point rate cut, or 0.25% as people call it. That, to be honest, is pretty obvious. I can't imagine there's going to be any deviation away from that. No surprises expected, as you can see here. And if you want my opinion, I think they will cut 25 basis points. I think it's the most sensible thing to do right now. I'm just reading some of the articles that I've been researching and stuff, and I think there's going to be a unanimous vote, and we'll talk about the voting in just a second. This chart here, which was quite interesting, was the trajectory of the inflation figures. So that headline inflation, as you can see, has fallen quite dramatically, and as a result, you can see the core CPI and also the services inflation has fallen as well, but not at the same pace, but it didn't have as far to come from. So in early October, Governor Andrew Bailey indicated that the Bank of England could take a more activist approach to rate cuts if there's continued positive news on inflation. In terms of how... Just reading, sorry. In terms of how this may impact the pound, what I think is one of the best things that we can look at, because we know that inflation's fallen, we know that the Bank of England are looking to cut, and it's the right thing to do. How does that impact the pound? Well, if you go back to the economic calendar, something that we should all really be looking at before I go onto the charts, and I will spot some opportunities for you, is obviously the Bank of England Monetary Policy Report, which I always manage to get live on the stream. I'll read that for you. If you're looking for pound weakness, then we need to see in the Monetary Policy Report dovish language, which essentially is them saying things like the impact of the UK economy, that there's more cuts, or hints that there's more cuts coming, more aggressive cuts coming as well. That's your dovish language. The more hawkish language, which would be pound strength, would be language such as inflationary pressures, remain, skewed to the upside, which basically means that the risk of inflation rising again is high, is more than it was previously, that sort of thing, and that they will need to, be a little bit more careful on how they cut rates, all that sort of thing. The economy's strong and all that. That will inevitably cause some pound strength off the back of that. So I'll read the monetary policy report when it comes out. Okay, so we'll dive into that and we'll see what sort of language that we do get. Now, one of the things, and we've got 8 minutes to go, so I've got some good time to go through some market opportunities as well. One of the things that's quite important is the MPC official bank rate votes. So for those of you who are not aware of that, what we see is 3 numbers here: left, middle, and right. Okay, so this number this first number is the amount of people that have voted to increase interest rates. So at the moment, last time out that was 0, and we're expecting that to be 0 again. The middle number is how many MPC, so Monetary Policy Committee members, how many of those have voted for interest rates to decrease. Now previously that was 1, but now we're expecting 8 people out of the 9 to vote for an interest rate cut, a 25 basis point rate cut, or a 50 basis point rate cut. And this number on the right hand side is how many members voted to keep rates where they were. Okay, now this is important and it gets overlooked because they obviously have a say. The voting has a say in what's going to happen, because obviously it's up to Andrew Bailey, but the voting, he will get information and he will look to the other members to give him information and to help him in his decision, of course. And that voting split is very, very important. Now, as you can see, what we've got here is what I'd call a dovish shift. So we've got previously 1 person voted to cut rates, but now it's eight people. So that's probably already been priced in that that's going to be the case. So if we see less members, so if that figure in the middle is less than 8, then we could just maybe say that that's more of a hawkish shift or a less dovish shift, and therefore we might see the pound increase as a result of that, even if they do cut rates. If, for example, and I can't really tell this off the back of the number, but if there's more people that vote for a 50 basis point rate cut than a 25, then that's our dovish shift. And also, if this one solitary member here, who's predicted to say we want to hold rates where they are, if he shifts to the side of thinking that we should cut rates, then again, that's our dovish shift, and then we should expect the pound to decrease as a result of that. Okay. In terms of market opportunities, hello to you, Curtin, as well. Good to see you. And Clone as well. If you are around on the YouTube channel or on X, feel free to pop up and say hello and ask any questions that you may have. So I'll just let you know, or I'll tell you that we're going to get 25 basis points, I think. I'm pretty confident in that. But that voting split is going to be important, and that monetary policy report. Now, we don't know what's going to come out until we read it. So with that in mind, in terms of what we expect for the pound today, let's look at it against the US dollar, which, if you remember in my previous streams, I said that this low here was very, very important. 1.28432, that's basically the current yearly lows. And what you can see that happened here is the market came down and actually took the liquidity on this low and has since started to snap higher a little bit. If we go down onto the lower time frames, you can actually see as well a potential shift in momentum. Okay, and you could argue that if you're going to play the pound bull side, this could be, and it's only a 10 pip stop loss. You can see we've had a change of character here, so basically almost like a mini break of structure. Slightly risky, don't get me wrong, but you can see we then blasted higher again yesterday. We're tracing back down towards this order block, which is here, where we had this change of character. So you could play a trade with a 10, 11 pip stop loss, which looks a little bit like that, and I quite like that. Now, I know people will say, but the dollar's really strong at the moment. But if you look at what's happened with the US dollar, if you look at the US dollar pairs, the pound versus US dollar probably fell the least out of all of them. AUD USD fell, well, barely fell. It's going higher. But the pound versus the US dollar looks like the best one if you're going to play some potential dollar weakness. The pound versus the US dollar looks like a good one. I wouldn't play it against euro dollar. So let me show you the comparison. If you picture that price action in front of you now, compare that to euro dollar. You can see it's a lot more. Euro dollar is a lot more bearish than pound dollar is. Look at USD Swiss franc. Look, not much retracement there at all. USD yen, you can see as well, similar sort of thing. AUD USD has retraced all of that, so that's probably the most bullish one. Same as NZD USD and USD CAD as well. You can see, yeah, I just think that's it. It looks like a good one. Now, if we're going to play pound, so if we're going to play pound strength today, I like this trade. I like this trade a lot. It may not be a trade that gets, tagged in straight away, but, I like it. Now, if we're going to play some pound weakness, how long have we got? 3 minutes to go. Then I think the best one to play that against are these pairs, New Zealand dollar and Australian dollar. Okay? Because as you can see, the market is falling dramatically. The difficulty is trying to get in, so I'm just going to go down onto a lower time frame, like the 5-minute time frame. Here we go. So you can see the market's creating a series of lower lows, lower highs, and you can see as well we've got these moving averages coming into play, the trend rider moving averages. So I quite like the idea. If you're going to play pound weakness today, is having a look at a bit of a scalping opportunity like that. Now, with scalping opportunities, I always lower my risk. Very, very important. So the pound weakness, I think, is the strong play for pound weakness is against the Australian dollar. The pound strength play for me is against the US dollar. I think would be quite a good one, or even maybe against the euro. Yeah, I like that. As you can see, there's a bit of a retracement here. In fact, that's quite good. Got a potential trend rider opportunity there on euro versus the pound. Look at that crossover. We're definitely bearish if you look at the higher time frames. Interesting. Okay, right. We are not long to go until we've got that decision out. So let me just quickly... Oh, we've got 18 seconds. Right, let me go onto the pound versus the US dollar. Let me go onto the 1 minute time frame so we can see any explosion in volatility. Good luck to those who are trading this now. We've got 5 seconds to go until that decision is coming in. If anyone does get the decision, let me know in the comments section. We're seeing pound weakness. And it's reversing. So a bit of an explosion in volatility here. There's not much clear direction. We have got a 25 basis point rate cut. The Bank of England have cut rates by 25 basis points down to 4.75%. I'm just waiting for and there's no surprise there, of course. I'm just waiting for the banking split on the voting system. Oh, we're getting some pound strength here. Has anyone got the voting split? Still not out for me. 4.75. Thank you, Curtin. We're seeing some pound strength here, guys. And as I said, look, the best one to play that against, that US dollar. Okay, so the voting split was as predicted as well. I can show you that now, actually. Yeah, here we go. 0, 8 and 1. So quite unanimous in terms of its decision. Now let me go on the Bank of England website. Thank you, Twitter, for giving me the report. Okie dokie. Right. Yeah, accept them. Monetary Policy Report November 2024. Right. Okay. Between 2021 and 2023, we raised interest rates to slow down price rises. It's working. Inflation fell back to the 2% target in May of this year from a peak of just over 11% in 2022. Since then, inflation has stayed close to the target. Easing inflationary pressures meant we were able to cut rates to 5% in August, and we're cutting rates again today to 4.75%. Here we go. We expect inflation to rise slightly again over the next 2 years to around 2.75%, but then we expect inflation to fall back to 2% below that. If inflation remains low and stable, it's likely we will reduce rates further. But we have to be careful. Here we go, look. We have to be careful not to cut rates too quickly or too much. High inflation has affected everyone, but it particularly hurts those who can least afford it. So, my initial reaction to that is, I don't see any concern over the economy at all. Do you? I don't see any language in there which says, we're concerned about restrictive rates on the UK economy. All I see is we don't want to cut too much. We don't want to cut too frequently. We don't want inflation to rise again. That is definitely a less dovish report. And so I'm not surprised, and this is why it's important to read these things. Look, you can see the pound rising. There goes euro pound as well. If you did manage to get into that trend ride opportunity, you'd be riding it quite nicely. Yeah, okay, interesting. So yeah, for me, that's definitely a less dovish report. A lot more concern about inflation. Was there anything about the economy? We can't rule out more global shocks as well that keep inflation high. For example, developments in the Middle East could increase inflation. And I also think there's a little bit of concern about Trump coming in and that causing inflation as well. There's a risk that inflation could be higher than expected. Wow, this is not a very dovish report at all. I'd actually say this is leaning more towards hawkish than dovish. What do you guys think in the comment section? What do you make of that? Or for those of you who are interested in the UK economy, that's that's an interesting. So that would be, for me. I like more pound upside. I might try and difficult to try and get in right this second, but what's important is remember that's write it down on your notes. That's how the Bank of England are thinking right now. Any sort of pullbacks now that we can get in any of these pairs, really, particularly pound versus US dollar and euro pound, I believe that we could see some more downside here. I think that pound strength might continue into today, and obviously into next week as well. So I'm short-term bullish on the pound now, and I've written that down because I think that next week we could get some good pound opportunities. And what's happening with the FTSE? FTSE's down off the back of it, and I'm not surprised on that either because of that nod towards inflation. That slight concern about inflation is really evident there in that report itself. So yeah, okay, so Bank of England have decided to cut rates by 25 basis points. The report was not very dovish at all. A lot more concern about inflation. What does that mean for markets? That means it should mean some short-term pound strength. So good luck if those of you are trying to get into that momentum today. I'll have a look at some markets, but I do like the idea of sort of letting it play out a little bit, wait for that pullback, and then we can sort of go. So some good trading opportunities coming up, definitely over the next 7 days in these UK markets as well. Okie dokie, right. If anyone does need me in the room, I'll be active. I'm going to post some analysis on this in the trading room as a trade idea. So I'll find my best pound trade idea and post it in the room for you. Until then, trade well, trade safe, and I'll see you all very shortly. Thank you very much.